The sound that shattered the room was not a slap, but the sharp crack of porcelain hitting marble, followed by a gasp so loud it sucked the air from every chest in the restaurant. A trembling waitress stood frozen as a red silk sleeve hovered inches from her face, humiliation burning brighter than the spilled wine at her feet. If you're watching Pure Kindness and you believe stories like this still carry hope, compassion, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these human stories alive. The restaurant had been drenched in daylight, the kind that filtered through tall windows and made the crystal glasses glow like fragile stars. It was meant to be a place of celebration, where money-softened voices and silk dresses floated between tables. But for Mara Ionescu, the day had already been heavy before it even began. She wore the standard blue uniform, freshly pressed yet faded from years of careful washing, her hair pulled back tight as if order alone could keep her world from collapsing. Her hands still smelled faintly of detergent from the boarding house where she lived, a place that charged too much and gave too little. She had learned long ago how to disappear, how to move silently through other people's luxury without leaving a trace of herself behind. Across the table stood Alina Kress, the millionaire's girlfriend, radiant and dangerous in her confidence. Alina had grown up chasing admiration the way others chased safety, collecting approval like trophies because nothing else ever stayed. The red dress clung to her like armor, her posture rigid with the certainty that the world owed her reverence. Her voice cut through the soft classical music as she gestured sharply, her frustration spilling over in front of guests who shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Power, she believed, meant never having to look down and see the damage beneath your heels. Mara felt the moment stretch painfully, the kind of moment that rewrites how you see yourself. The guests' eyes burned into her skin, some filled with pity, others with relief that it wasn't them. Her breath came shallow, her chest tight with the familiar fear of being small and disposable. She thought of her late mother, who had scrubbed floors in silence and taught her that dignity was something no one could take unless you handed it over. But dignity felt far away as she knelt to clean the mess, her fingers shaking, her face hot with shame she had not earned. The restaurant manager rushed in too late, apologies folding over themselves, while Alina turned away, already bored, already victorious. No one noticed the man seated a few tables back who had watched everything with an unsettling stillness. He was not dressed to impress, just a tailored suit worn with ease, his gaze sharp and observant. He noticed how Mara swallowed her tears, how she straightened her shoulders before standing again. He noticed something else too, something that did not belong in a waitress who had just been publicly diminished: quiet resolve. That night, Mara returned to her small room as sunlight faded into the gray of early evening. The city hummed outside her window, indifferent and loud. She sat on the edge of her bed and finally let herself break. Years of exhaustion poured out silently as tears soaked into her sleeves. She thought of the letters hidden beneath her mattress, documents her mother had left behind, proof of a legacy Mara had been too afraid to confront. Her mother had once been more than a cleaner, more than invisible. She had been a visionary, a silent investor who believed in building futures rather than flaunting wealth. When illness came, she left behind shares, quietly growing, tucked away in a firm no one expected a woman like Mara to touch. Sleep did not come easily, but dawn did. Morning light crept into the room, soft and forgiving, illuminating the decision Mara had been avoiding for years. She dressed not in uniform, but in a simple tailored suit borrowed from a neighbor who believed in her more than she believed in herself. As she stepped into the street, fear walked beside her, but so did something new: purpose. Across town, Alina woke up to sunlight pouring into a penthouse bedroom, the city bowing beneath floor-to-ceiling windows. She scrolled through messages, validation flowing freely, but an unease lingered. The restaurant incident replayed in her mind, not with guilt, but irritation that it had not disappeared as quickly as everything else. She prepared for the board meeting she would attend as arm candy, another room where she expected to be admired without effort. The boardroom was a cathedral of glass and steel, flooded with daylight that reflected ambition in every surface. Men and women in crisp suits took their seats, murmurs bouncing off polished walls. Alina entered confidently, her red heels echoing authority she believed she possessed. She smiled tightly, scanning the room for familiar faces, already bored by the proceedings she barely understood. Then the doors opened again. Mara stepped inside, sunlight framing her like a quiet revelation. Her posture was steady, her expression composed, though her heart hammered fiercely. Every step toward the table felt like crossing a lifetime of doubt. A ripple moved through the room as files were opened, names spoken, and ownership percentages displayed on the screen. Mara's name appeared in bold, followed by a number large enough to steal the breath from the room. Alina's smile fractured. Recognition struck like ice. The waitress. The woman she had dismissed as nothing. The air seemed to thicken as reality rearranged itself around her. For the first time in years, Alina felt truly exposed, stripped of the illusion that status could protect her from consequence. Mara listened as the meeting unfolded, her presence shifting the gravity of the room. She was no longer invisible. She thought of her mother's sacrifices, of nights spent hungry so something greater could survive. She thought of every time she had swallowed her voice to make others comfortable. Power, she realized, was not about humiliation or dominance. It was about choice, about what you did when you finally had the ability to change the story. Alina sat stiffly, hands clenched beneath the table, shame crawling up her spine in a way she had never allowed herself to feel. Memories she had buried surfaced unexpectedly, a childhood where love had been conditional, where being admired had been the only way to stay safe. She had learned to strike first, to belittle before being diminished herself. But here, in the unforgiving clarity of daylight, none of it worked. As the meeting adjourned, Mara gathered her papers slowly, grounding herself in the quiet triumph of survival. She met Alina's gaze briefly, not with anger, but with something far more unsettling, understanding. In that look was the weight of pain endured and the grace of not passing it on. If this story is touching your heart so far, take a moment to support it. Your engagement helps stories of resilience reach more people who need them. Before the final moments unfold, leave a comment below and share what this story made you feel. Your voice matters here. Outside, the city shimmered in afternoon light, traffic moving like veins through a living body. Mara stepped into the sun, breathing deeply, feeling the warmth on her face as if for the first time. She did not feel victorious in the way movies often portray. She felt something quieter, something stronger. She felt free. Behind her, Alina lingered by the window, watching a world she no longer fully understood. For the first time, she questioned who she had become and whether it was too late to change. The day continued, indifferent yet full of possibility. Somewhere between glass towers and crowded streets, two lives shifted course. One reclaimed a legacy built on patience and kindness. The other stood at the edge of reckoning, facing the uncomfortable truth that power without empathy leaves nothing but emptiness behind. And in that shared daylight, hope flickered, not loud, not certain, but real, reminding anyone watching that dignity has a way of returning, often when you least expect it, and always when you are finally ready to stand in your own worth.